Hey everybody, it's Maggie from Personal Euphoria. I almost said happy Monday, but it's Tuesday. I keep thinking today is Monday, which is throwing me off a bit. So far I haven't totally screwed anything up. Anyway, are you ready to do a move while you have a plank story? Is your day functioning better than mine so far? Let's get the clock started. Here we go. So this morning it was really chilly, and always like the first fall day that's like this, I pull out my real like puffy winter coat that's like a sleeping bag, and I always chuckle at myself a bit. And so I laughed and thought of times that I have been very cold. And one that came to mind is a few years ago, Matt and I went out to Oregon to hike Mount Hood. And because I had never done a lot of like snow or ice mountain hiking, we hired a guide. And so it was me and Matt, the guide, and this 15-year-old, I think, boy who was random. We didn't know. And we all met up together, and the guide kind of like went through all my stuff and was like, oh, you won't need this. You want to lighten your load. You won't need this. And he's getting rid of like clothes I've brought that he doesn't think I'll need. And I did ditch them, took my pack, and we go up. We don't really hike. We took like a ski lift, if I remember right, like to a certain point, and then briefly hiked to about 8,000 feet, where we were gonna put on crampons and practice walking through the ice, and he was gonna teach us lessons and kind of maneuvering. And then we made dinner there, and we slept in a tent at about 8,000 feet. And so the plan is to get up at 2 a.m. to start the hike, and that's pretty common when you're on mountains in the snow, in part because you're trying to get to the top for sunrise, because that's always cool. It reduces the chance of an avalanche, and I also think mentally they just don't want you to see where you're headed and what's happening because it's dark out, and so it's like it's helpful mentally. And so anyhow, we set our alarms for 2 a.m. and Matt and I get into bed, and I have put on now every piece of clothing I have. I've got my winter jacket on, included for hiking, and I'm tucked in my sleeping bag, and I am freezing. And I don't get much sleep because the wind was really strong, and it's like banging against the tent. The whole tent you could see like flopping all night in this wind. And when the alarm goes off at 2 a.m., I'm like, oh my God, I'm in my winter coat, in my sleeping bag. I have to get out of the bag and go out into the wind, and I've got nothing more to put on, and I'm freezing. And I think to myself, like, Maggie, why do you do this to yourself? This is such a bad life choice. You're exhausted. Now you have to hike. This is not going to be fun. And then I like get myself out of the bag. It has to happen. I'm going up or down at this point. And I unzip the tent, and we're at 8,000 feet again, and it's a crystal clear night, and the stars are incredible. It looks like you could reach out and touch every star, and I had an immediate change of sentiment. I was like, this is why I do this. This is totally worth it. And I was happy, ready to hike, and forgetting already that I was cold and tired because those stars were so impressive. But the lesson I took away is I find I often have male guides, and on more than one occasion they have told me, like, you won't need this many clothes, you want to lighten your pack, get rid of it. I, Maggie Downey, would rather carry a heavier pack and have plenty of warm clothes. I am cold. And so I've learned that. And now I ignore anyone that tells me to ditch my clothes. I rather carry more and not need them than be freezing all night long. All right, that is a 3-minute and 24-second plank. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you keep warm and keep moving.